Well, hello and welcome to Scorecard on Channel 1 TV. I am Bernard Abeku-Otri. Today on the show, we've got a lot of interesting stuff for you. We're going to talk about the Under-20 Women's National Team here in Ghana. We'll talk about the Super Clash, which Accra had to folk in the last five, have not found a win. Fortunately, they do now. They've gotten the win. It's important to put a spectacle on it. Then we'll come and talk about what has been happening in the fourth round of the FA Cup, and clubs have made it to the fifth round of that competition. I loved the derby, the Italia was beautiful, is it? In Italy. We'll go for a short commercial break. We'll come back in studios. I'll introduce you to my guests. We'll set the ball rolling. You'll get to understand it. We're coming right now. Welcome back. This is Scorecard on Channel 1 TV. Wherever you're doing the watching from, you have an avenue to join us with your thought on the show. The number is on your screen. You put in your thoughts as and when, and we'll be reading them here in studios for you. But I've got my guys in the studio. Adrian Kakovi. Adrian, how are you? Good. Great to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. This whole weekend we've been spreading love, and I want to spread the love here too. The only way I can, talking football. I didn't
expect that. That's nice. Great. Mano, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Great to see you here as well. Let's set the ball rolling. I mean, I want us to start with the Under-20 women's team. We'll get to the phobia and porcupines and talk about that. I mean, should we make it to the Under-20 Women's World Cup, which will be happening in Poland? It will be our 8th time. We've not been able to get past the group stage of the World Cup when it comes to Under-20 women's football. Again, it's good to know that the next hurdle, if you want, is Uganda, who also won their game against the Zambians by a goal to 0 after drawing initially. We also had a draw against South Africa here in Ghana. Then we won by a goal to 0. We're playing somewhat around May 1 to 10 in the last round of the qualifier. So we just finished the third round. We head into the last, and then should we beat Uganda, it gives us the opportunity to make it, into the World Cup as in from the qualifying phases 8th time. You think it sells the kind of football at the juvenile level when it comes to women's football here in the country?
Look, the younger women's teams have always been some of our most talented. Every single tournament, they give their best, even though they don't get the support they need consistently enough. They usually turn up for the big games, the big qualifiers. Maybe not the big tournament as in the World Cup, but at least they show up there, and they've been consistently qualifying for the World Cup, just as you said. And I think that's, for now, is the most important thing, getting to the tournaments where they can test themselves against the best in the world. And that they are on course to do that again. I think Uganda obviously are a difficult test. I've seen a couple of the games they've played, including the one against Zambia. And I thought that the scoreline did not flatter them at all. I thought they deserved a few more goals out of that game. So the Black Princesses aren't going to have it easy against them. But my thought is that they will qualify for the World Cup. And as you said, the next hurdle is to make it past the group stage. We can't simply qualify all the time and not make an impact at the tournament. And if you look at the team that they've assembled, these are really, really good players who could make a mark. The thing is, are they motivated enough to get to the World Cup and actually get to the next stage? A lot of people make it seem as though getting to the World Cup is the biggest thing. But they've done that consistently. Now it's time to get to the next stage of the tournament, which is reaching the knockout stages. And that requires, first of all, not motivating them at the tournament, because the fact that they'll qualify for the next stage of the tournament is motivation enough. However, a lot of these players go into the World Cup not knowing what to expect in terms of, and I hate to bring this up again, bonuses, in terms of...
Yeah, that's true. It's been a headache in the past, isn't it?
Yeah, so their heads are not in the right spaces when
this minister says he doesn't want to be a minister for the Black Stars alone. So he came into office trying to clear amount old national teams. So.
Benefits of the doubt, yes. I hope that happens. But so far, it still seems that we are putting the Black Stars at the center of everything that we do. And we've seen the issues that it's caused with some of the women's teams as well. So I hope it changes because, as I've said, the women are very, very talented. If you look across the whole of the continent, bar a couple of other teams, Ghana has probably the most talented women's team across all ages. You can see it whenever they play in our league, which I think quality-wise is among the best on the continent. So I wish them the best. They've done well to get to this stage. They probably will get to the next tournament, but it's important that we give them the necessary support for them to succeed.
Now, consistency is important and how we do it, but people will then learn your skill. It's 4 nations who make it through to the competition. There's Nigeria in the mix, but fortunately for us, and I say fortunately because of the growth of the Nigerian game, even though we've been dominant at the 20 level when it comes to women's football, we get to play against Uganda to get into the World Cup. What should be our target this time? Because this is a year where we have the Black Stars get into a World Cup in Canada, USA, Mexico, where we have our women's national team in the Black Queens getting to the African Cup of Nations, the WAFCON, the women's edition, and the under-20s trying to make it, into this phase. What should be the target as a country going into major tournaments of the sort? I say this just opposing away the Moroccan example.
I don't know if the GFA are ready to invest at that level in women's football. Obviously, if you use Morocco as an example, I think the word you can use for it is wholesome. In terms of how they invested wasn't just to go directly into men's football or to go directly into women's football. They tried to spread the development around. And that's something that I think we can also learn from over here. In terms of comparing ourselves again to Morocco, I think that if we're able to get the Black Queens to, because at that level too, they haven't, last time I checked, they haven't won at the World Cup level. So the Black Queens have also made it to the World Cup, but whenever they've made it to a World Cup, they haven't been able to win games. And I think that it needs to start from African development, the same way that Nigeria has done, and they've been able to dominate at that level. I think that if we start from the African level, obviously we did quite well at the last Women's AFCON. We're able to finish there. But if we're able to maybe see it as a chance to maybe win a Women's AFCON, and then once we have that dominance, once we have that consistency, you can now have these players who are eager to now go and feed, how do you call it, the Black Queens themselves. So I think that, like you said, it's just a determination thing. I don't think we lack talent. I think, like you said, if we are able to invest money in the right places, equitably, because we don't have as much money as other federations, but if we're able to invest just a little, because we see the investment that's being done that's being done for women's game, and you can see how it's paying off for them now.
We have money.
We have money.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have as much money?
We have money.
I mean, we have money,
when it
but
comes to for development at that level in our game, we need to, how do I better put this? Know where we want to invest in, and then FIFA would provide the amount, because it is development. FIFA is interested in football development at the grassroots level. And I feel when you talk about women's football, it's already at the grassroots level. It is now that the Black Queens are inviting other, I mean, it's been a while, now that the team is attracting other guys of different decent into our setup. So I feel when it comes to development of women's football, it is Kurt's area actually, because I feel his administration, the light on women's football has been excellent. Yeah.
So, I don't doubt that that's been one of the successes of the Kurt administration. Their investment in women's football has definitely paid some dividends in terms of as I said, the quality of our league, the quality of the women's team now. But you can't deny that there was a period in the middle where our women's game declined significantly, and we lost our standing in African football because of how poor the investment was in the game. A lot has been done since, but obviously more can be done. And that is what I hope the GFA, the sports ministry can get to. Because we can't let this magnificent talent machine just go to waste because we are not paying enough attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, I take the point you're making about FIFA, but all in all, there's a limited amount of money that we can get from FIFA.
But that's true.
And there's a limited amount of money that we can spend things on.
100%.
And it would involve certain things.
It
Like
depends,
maybe
it depends again on where we put our focus, what we make our prime focus in investment when it comes to the monies we get from FIFA.
Yeah.
This time we want to put the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence in a great fashion because the land was not owned by the Ghana Football Association. Now it's owned by the Ghana Football Association. And they want investment in that area to bring it to that level.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think it's all about priorities and proportion. Because the money can be taken for one thing, but then used for another.
Yeah.
And obviously, unless there's a lot of auditing that goes into that, but it's not exact.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of bureaucratic processes that go through just to even get the money. When we see the payment of salaries and all that to the staff. So if they're able to find a way to avoid all that and just prioritize, like you said, women's football, it might mean slashes to the Black Stars budget, maybe the kitman or different aspects of the Black Stars. Maybe they have to reduce how much they take
just have to go
just to help, just to help
Yeah.
the other teams grow to that level, and then the investment can be equitable.
Great. So we've played 52 games so far with the under-20 women's team. Won 45 times, had 3 draws and 4 losses. That's magnificent. You asked me in our qualifying, games and all. So we've been excellent in the qualifying phases. But the main event itself. Let's switch our attention from there and focus on what's transpired, earlier, some few hours to the show. It's Accra Hearts of Oak against Kumasi Asante Kotoko in Ghana Premier League. And coming into this game, well, the Porcupines had sacked Abdul Karim Zito and, giving the nod to Prince and Hamza to lead them into a giant game of the sort. Accra Hearts of Oak again, Edwin, have not had a win against Kumasi Asante Kotoko in their last 5 heading into this. Now they find a way to do it. And I checked the stats, after the game. And I get to realize, and of course, watching the game, I get to realize that Hearts shots more, they had more shots on target this time from the average shots that they took in the game. There have been question marks over the play of Didi Dramani. First off, your general thoughts. People are super excited in Kumasi, I must admit, but your general thought of the Super Clash.
Look, it was an interesting game to watch. Right from the start, you felt it was going to be very competitive, and then the red card came in. Hearts of Oak took the lead, and then the red card came in the 34th minute, and you just thought Kotoko would take over the game. But surprisingly, there was no point in the game where I felt Hearts of Oak did not control it. And I'm not talking in terms of possession. Obviously, Kotoko controlled possession. Okay. Obviously, they were the more attacking side. But there was no point in the game where I thought that Hearts are out of control, Kotoko are going to win this game. There were chances for Kotoko, which Benjamin Asari got to.
He was a man of the match.
He was a man of the match. Very good saves from him. Yeah. But in terms of structure and solidity, I thought Hearts of Oak were the better team. And that obviously comes down to coaching. And I felt Osewusu was out-coached by Didi Dramani. And you mentioned Didi Dramani's style of coaching, which some Hearts fans are not too happy about. Yeah. He does what needs to be done to get the team to win. Okay. It's not going to work out all the time because of various variables. The other team being generally better on the day, his players not turning up. Sometimes maybe tactically he's not up to it on that match day. Yeah. But I think he goes into every game with a certain idea that he expects his players to live by and play the game with. If it does not go well, it doesn't mean it's not the right structure for Accra House of Oak. It's not the right philosophy for Accra House of Oak. In this game, he did what exactly needed to be done. If your team goes down by a man in the 34th minute, there's so much pressure on your team from then on. So to get to the break in that game level, or still ahead, was key for Accra House of Oak. had Kotoko pegged them back, the second half might have been a different story. But once you go into that break, you are able to get your instructions out to the team, change the formula, and ensure they sit a little deeper. If there are any counter-attacking opportunities, you take them. If not, you keep that line in front of your defense very solid, which they absolutely did, bar a couple of instances where Kotoko were able to break through. I think this was what you call, we use this term a lot, we overuse it, a coaching masterclass by Didi Dramani. And for Kotoko, you would wonder, this is an assistant coach who is stepping up to...
The fans actually went to the training ground when he was put in charge of the club.
I mean, when don't the Kotoko fans go to the training ground? They are really known for that.
They're known for that. They did that to
when things aren't going their way.
It's a repetitive stuff.
But this does not only... You think
it's embarrassing?
You think it would motivate the players and the coach to probably do better, but actually scares them when they go into these games. They are worried about every single thing that they do. They second guess touches, they second guess passes, they second guess moments where they should shoot, because they are worried if this doesn't go well. The fans are behind me. They are probably going to be very upset. Maybe not take it out physically, but you never know in the Ghana Premier League. So doing these things actually hurts the team. And for a manager who has just come in, or a head coach who's just coming on an interim basis or caretaker basis, to take charge of a situation where the main coach has left the job, the team isn't performing well, they've just exited the FA Cup, their league form has been very, very bad, their goal scoring form has not been at its best. It just creates an atmosphere at the club where things that aren't going well keep going badly. And when you meet your main rivals like this, it's possibly the worst time to meet them, because you need 100% focus, maybe 120, 130% focus if you are facing your main rivals. And to go into this game and lose, it puts Kotoko in a really difficult position. In fact, before this game, they had the better record in the last 10 Ghana Premier League games against us. I think they'd drawn 3 of them, they had won 5 and then lost 2 of them. It doesn't affect that record much, but it is the most recent record. And if your team isn't performing well already, and you go into a game against your biggest rivals, lose that's pressure just hits like a rock. Now it's up to the team to lift themselves up, the players to lift themselves up, and the coach to help the team lift themselves up. But if you're a coach that you've not experienced this in a substantive role, how are you going to do that? I'm not doubting his managerial or tactical acumen, but it's not easy to be able to lift a club like Kumasi Asante Kotoko, who are already sinking down in the ground. It's not very easy. So maybe this is how he builds himself and shows that he belongs in such a role. Honestly, I don't see it. I think that losing the head coach was a very, very shocking thing, which obviously...
Kumasi Asante Kotoko have done shocking things for a minute, you know?
They have, but you would have expected that, given their pedigree, they would have learnt by now what to do and what not to do at certain stages of the season. And I think they pulled the plug a little too early, or didn't make enough efforts.
It's the thing they've been doing, you actually.
I know. They have been doing that, but honestly, Karim Zito should have been convinced to stay at the club. That's my opinion.
Dr. Prosper Natiogo had an interview with our media friends and stated that when you go into the club, you don't get that support from the managerial level, and at a point from the fans. You know, it's like they are impatient, and all of that does not give the coach the sound mind to be able to churn out right tactics to the guys to exhibit on the pitch of play. I'm not saying what Kotoko did. In fact, Kotoko dominated in terms of ball possession. They shot more on target as well in this game. But the most important is the result. And it seems that anytime they get one of the best coaches in the league, they find a way to sort of
restrict him,
or restrict him, and the job at hand. I don't know what your take is in relation to this.
I think this is just a big club that's constantly underachieving and doesn't realize how to deal with a new reality that they are facing. And this new reality is, like you said, is completely self-inflicted. Because if I remember right, when was Karim Zito made a permanent coach?
I think June 25. About?
No, if I'm right, he was brought in as an interim coach to the end of the season.
So interim coach around, I think it was April, so it was June that it was made.
And after he won the MTN FA Cup, he then stated that he would want the job.
Yeah.
But I don't think any communication ever came out to the fact that he's been made permanent head coach. Or at least it wasn't publicly known. I think he did really well. They stuck with him. And then when things weren't going really well, they decided not to stick with him. And that's just a constant pattern that they keep going through. Because I think that as a coach now, when you're going through struggles, you have to realize that things won't always go as well as you think that they'll go. Especially at the management level, I think clubs need to start realizing that obviously sometimes it's just because the tactics are, sometimes it's the tactics, but mostly I think it's just sometimes you have human factors in between. Maybe players are missing, maybe he has injuries, maybe the form of some of the key players who are able to get you out of certain games earlier in the season is just not the right level, and that creates problems for you. And for Asante, I feel it looks a bit similar to what I would say is happening at Manchester United. Entirely different. But it's just two big clubs who, rather than acting like a big club, are living on the legacy of being a big club. And the decisions that they've made since then don't reflect it doesn't reflect the decision that they used to make that made them a big club initially. If that makes sense. But because of how big they are now, they will always be a big club. If you see the game, obviously it's not as big as it was back in the day, but there was still a lot of passion. You could still see a lot of people gathered by their TVs watching this match. This is still the biggest game in Ghana football. And unfortunately, these clubs do not behave like two of the biggest clubs in Ghana, let alone in Africa. And it's just some of these decisions that they've been making in very key moments that constantly keep letting them down. Prosper Nate Ogum in particular, while I agree that he was doing quite well, the immediate effect of when Zito came in is there for all to see. If we're including the President's Cup and the MTN FA Cup, if he's been able to at least bring in silverware, and he looked like he was a coach that could change the mentality of some of the players who were there. Unfortunately, they didn't stick with him long enough for them to know if genuinely he could have changed the mindset of the players. But this is a coach who's coming to meet a team that underperformed under a previous manager. And unless you are suggesting that the only thing wrong with them was mentality, it means that he had to come in and if he had time, he should have been able to change certain players. Because it can't just be the mentality that was wrong. There needs to be certain individuals who are not certainly playing at a level that a club like Asante Kotoko deserve. And maybe they should have been able to move them on and give him more time to see what his vision would have been at the club. But right now, if you look at Prince Owusu's first game in charge, I think he'll be disappointed.
That's against Accra House of Folk, isn't it? Yeah. Against Accra House of Folk. Why be disappointed? Because
but if I'm right, Didi Dramani's first match too was against Kotoko.
Yeah. Again?
A 10-man Accra House of Folk team there.
They scored in the 15th minute, for example. Had a red card in the 34th minute, and it's a 90-minute game plus extras. 4 in the first 45. I think 4, after 90.
Yeah, but you have to compound this with the fact that they got knocked out of the MTN FA Cup last season in the the conference, the second tier African competition, the CAF Confederations Cup. They got knocked out in the second round to JSK, and that means that what does their season hold for them now? The reason they brought Zito in last season was to save that season, but we're just after halfway through this season, and every ambition that they have is gone out. They can't win any cup anymore. The league looks like it's fallen out of their reach. And so what do they call a successful season now? It means that for the second season in a row, it looks like they just have to reset and hope that when they start again next season, they can build towards something. And if you don't give the managers time, I understand why they went with Prince Owusu, because they need to give themselves time to make the right decision. And hopefully, maybe this time, they can find the right manager who is able to bed the team into his system, and they can give him time to try and make it happen.
Well, a couple of points about the goal, though. We need to talk about it.
The goal.
Yeah, first of all,
Baba Adamu's goal.
First of all, Kamara, what was he doing? That he should.
I think he wanted to. He anticipated maybe he could have just gone in to punch And then he
He's
was
had-
in two thoughts.
Yeah, he's had a few shocking moments as Kotoko keeper.
But he's a good goalkeeper. His numbers.
I mean, I'm not disputing that he probably saves the ball sometimes, but there've been a lot of times where he's let his team down by certain errors that come from.
But
just
watch
a-
it. Is
just
this
a
an
lack
error?
of
Is this an
judgment.
error?
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah, that's a goalkeeping error. I think he should have done better for that. But aside from that, I think Heart of Oak fans are going to be upset. That was offside. If you look at it, that was offside. Baba Adamu was never in an onside position. He was,
okay.
yeah, he was out. I don't think we have the best shots, but he was out in front of the Kotoko defenders. When he tried to come back, the ball had already been played. He was still offside. That should have been given, but I get why it was difficult for the officials to see.
yeah.
But honestly, that was offside. If you saw the replay and saw the angle from which I saw it, that was definitely offside.
Oh. I think few messages.
Yeah,
you
not
were
to be
saying
critical, but there was a lot of talk about the referee refereeing the game.
That's our best
Daniel Lai.
referee in the league, though, than Lai.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of complaints about the red card that he gave.
There was
That's pretty understandable.
You don't agree?
No, I think there was no problem with that decision. Definitely a red card.
So I mean, just to give him his credit after a lot of heat from the AFCON tournament that he did.
I think he handled the game better.
It's a big game, and how do you call it? So far, I can't point to him and say that it was his officiating that.
I think he handled it as
defeated the
best
game well.
as it could have been handled.
Okay.
The circumstances, the two teams involved, the decisions, key decisions that he was in a position to make, I think all of them were pretty good. Whatever you thought about his performance in the AFCON game, I think in this game, he was the best man to handle it, and he did a good job.
Good.
And just on the
We need to go
officiating
on a
thing,
break.
how do you call it? This is just a key point with what Edwin spotted with the offside about Motepe speaking about how he hopes every federation can implement VAR. And I'm just very interested to see if in Ghana there's a way in which, first of all, it can be
Conversation
implemented.
around that, I feel, is massive. We need to play in a standard facility, across a stadium in the fashion of the TNA Park. We get Accra Sports Stadium super ready, the Babaya Sports Stadium super ready, the Legon Stadium super ready, the Tamale Sports Stadium super ready, the Cape Coast Sports Stadium super ready, and forget the.
So that means not anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was hearing.
No anytime soon. Let's go for a quick break. I'll come back and attend to the message. This is Scorecard on Channel 1 TV. I'm Bernard Abeko in the studios with Edwin Kwakofi and Manuel Angelo Kwachi. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. This is Scorecard on Channel 1 TV. And of course, we've been talking about, the under-20 women's national team and the super clash that we witnessed later this afternoon. It was Accra House of Folk who were triumphant on the day. I'll take the opportunity to read some messages. Now get to my guys. We'll get the ball rolling. We have to talk about the FA Cup as well. Arsenal seem to have their head straight at something. We got to talk about it. This one, he starts with a laughing emoji. This is from Grosso inside Cape Coast. He says, "Now I can sleep well thanks to the Continental Masters, Phobia Masters," he adds. He says, this one also reads, if Accra House of Folk don't win the league and they beat Kumasi Asante Kotoko, that's okay. By Napoleon in Tumu Sankori base, Sankofa. So it's Tumu Sankofa base. All right. Good evening, Channel 1 Sport. As a die-hard Kotoko fan, I'm congratulating Glorious Accra Hearts of Folk for winning the Super Clash with a numerical disadvantage in the first half. And I must say, Masoudi Dramani really got his tactics right this time around. As for Ben Asari, I pray he stays out of injuries for the remainder of the season because Ghana will be needing him for the upcoming World Cup. Sir PK from Ahafo, Sankore. Good evening, guys. Yesterday, I really enjoyed good football, watching Real Madrid play. It was nice, or it was a nice game, the nicest game so far for this season, he says, I think for Madrid, in Madrid's game. This is from Dennis from Ashaleja. Ben, I think the goal Hart scored was an offside goal. How come there was no angle to show the line when the free kick was taken? Blacko from Takrady.
Well, I don't think there's much we can do at this stage if we don't invest in.
That's where your VAR discussion.
VAR. But even before that, cameras, our TV cameras and footage that we get from the grounds. If we don't have enough. You can't put them at various vantage points to get the angles you need. So this is goes down to investment in our league.
I mean, I get that, but I feel like VAR is it's overcomplicated sometimes.
Yeah,
Like sometimes it's a straightforward.
yeah.
Obviously, that's once you implement it,
Yeah,
there
actually,
are
it's a
certain.
controversial.
Yeah, but most of these decisions are, if you can think of the most controversial decisions you remember in your life, maybe Suarez. These are decisions where if you just saw a playback of it once, you'd be able to make a quick decision. And the point is, why do we limit ourselves from having that option? If that makes sense. If we realize that, okay, sometimes mistakes are made on the pitch, and how they call it, we have a way to know that people who are watching this on TV now can tell that it's a mistake. The people in the stadium themselves don't know. I think that's a bit strange. The problem is, where do you draw the line? Because once you go there, it's almost like, then we have to include goal line technology. We have to make sure everything is perfect. And that's where people need to realize that it can't be perfect. But just to get to a better level than where we are now, like Edwin said, just put some cameras somewhere, have some people watch back the footage, and then that's our VAR for now. Maybe we get better over time, but we can start from somewhere.
That's fine. Let's get to talk about where cameras are well positioned and you can see if there are offsides or not. Chelsea beats Hull City by 4-0. And interestingly, this is a side that Kwakofi would love to talk about the most. But first, let's get a glimpse of the highlights. We'll get to talk about it. Our director says she would die for Chelsea.
Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't?
Say again.
Who wouldn't?
I want to die for Chelsea.
I'm okay too.
Give it time. Give it time.
I think every time,
Give it
yeah.
time.
But I mean, Pedro Neto,
Yeah.
hat-trick, that's excellent, isn't it? It sets the right tone for you to get into a league game again, knowing that this is the fourth round. It gives you an opportunity to get into the fifth round of a cup or a competition that can give the club a trophy. It's important to play in this fashion in that competition.
Chelsea is a very strange club.
Why do you say so?
Because there's always a lot of talk going on around the club, in and around the club. But then a trophy silences everyone, keeps it calm for a few minutes, and then everyone is back again criticizing the club for spending too much, for buying too many players and all that. So I think it's important, at least for the players themselves, the playing body and the technical team, to focus on winning a competition at least every season. And the FA Cup probably offers the best part to a trophy because of the number of games that it will take to win. The quality of teams is often not as high as you'd get in the Champions League and the Premier League and other competitions. They are obviously out of the Carabao Cup. So winning a trophy silences a lot of noise in and around the club. But aside that, I think the more important thing about this victory is not just Pedro Neto's goal, obviously people coming into form, is the fact that the club can showcase that it has a wide enough squad to be able to challenge on different fronts and to be able to manage in cases where key players are not available. And that is always what I've called for as a pundit when watching Chelsea's games.
Key players?
Yes, when key players are not available, they have a large enough and a talented enough squad for them to take over. They may not consistently be good, but at least you know that you have some quality talents that it doesn't drop to a certain level. Like some other teams may have, let's say United, you have Bruno Fernandes. If he's not on the pitch, who matches that quality or who is around that quality? For Chelsea, you have players like Cole Palmer, Reece James. You have Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. A few months ago, losing any of these players would have been the worst thing for any Chelsea fan.
But now, even Cole Palmer, when he got injured for a minute.
But then in recent times, you can rest Cole Palmer for 90 minutes. You can rest Reece James for 90 minutes. Rest Enzo Fernandez for 90 minutes. Because you know you have key players who are now building up their confidence in the squad. You can bring in Andre Santos, who's been a revelation since Liam Rosinha took over. You can bring in
Don't
Neto.
mention Garnacho, please.
Look,
I'm just serving as a reminder.
No, I don't agree with this. Look, Garnacho is not my favorite player. He's not my typical kind of winger. I feel that there's a lot you need to do to get Garnacho playing a certain way. But that does not mean he is a terrible player. That does not mean he's been awful for Chelsea.
He was bought for £40 million.
No, these sorts
a
of
40
players,
million pound.
yeah, these
That's
sorts
not
of
play
players,
like that,
they
that's
get attention put on them very unfairly when they cross over from rival teams. And I don't subscribe to that.
Okay.
I mean, to
Players
be
like-
fair, just to
Yeah.
I think Gittins was brought in for more money, but you haven't heard as much criticism of him.
Okay. But
Just-
is Gittins' performance in the last year or last 2 years, does it match Garnacho's performance?
Garnacho has been way better than Gittins. But even
point.
Gittins, I feel that people are a
As for
little...
Gittins, there, respectfully,
We-
I don't rate him at all. Respectfully.
We've seen this over a number of years, and I'm surprised by Chelsea players. You've seen Kukurea go through the same thing,
Yeah.
where he was not at his best for at least a year and a half. Then he comes back and suddenly he's the best left back in the world. Once you've seen such a situation, you would think
Garnacho.
the first thing you'd have, the first thought you have in this
Kakufi.
position is to give the players as much of a chance as they can
Hey, my
get.
man.
Garnacho has been barely at Chelsea for what, 6-7
Yeah,
months.
yeah.
He scored a number of key goals for the club.
Most goals this season off the bench. So,
Yes, most goals of the season in
Off
the
the
season off the bench.
I like
Ye-
the start. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Gittins has had his moments as well. He's shown some quality. Esteval has been really good.
Yeah.
So when these players are not as good, you've seen the heights they can get to. That's when you've seen their best. That is the best they can get to, and that is not terrible. So if they are not performing at their best, at least give them some time to get to that level. They are all young players who, and I know we've been making this point, young players, eventually they'll
Yeah.
run
Because
out of
Anthony
time.
Martial remained young till he left Manchester United.
And that is Manchester United. There are different instances of players not being able to match up to that quality. But there are lots more of players becoming as good as we thought that they could be.
Well,
So I think it's important for Chelsea fans to give their players some time, because you need a large squad to be able to qualify for certain tournaments, to be able to challenge for the title, to be able to even win trophies.
Yeah.
And the only reason Chelsea are in this position is because they have a large enough squad to carry the slack when a few of the players aren't performing. So it might be inconsistent for a few months, a few games, but overall the team will be good enough to compete.
just to touch on that point, I think you noticed it with Madueke this season, and it feels like you are hearing a lot more positive things about him just because he's at Arsenal and because of the things he's doing. Whereas I feel like Madueke has been the same player. Obviously, maybe he had a rough season last season, but even the first season he was at Chelsea, when he scored a hat-trick against Wolves, there was a lot of positive talk about him. But because of how loud the Chelsea discussion is, if they are being critical of you, I think sometimes it seeps into other fan bases. And that's how other people will start to perceive a player. But I think you just notice with someone like Madueke that in different contexts, different players can play differently, or they can like contribute differently to different teams, and that can give you a different perception of who they are.
Let's get into the Newcastle conversation. Newcastle beat Aston Villa, strangely, by 3-1. I've had questions around Villa because of the number of competitions they're playing in. But Sandro Tonali was the guy who stood out in that particular game. Let's get to watch the highlights. We'll get back in studio to talk about it. So who needed it most? Votamada, Sandro Tonali, or Eddie Howe?
Oh, I think Eddie Howe probably.
Eddie Howe, okay.
And maybe Voldemort that comes a close second, because a lot of people have been criticizing Eddie Howe, saying he's not good enough for the level Newcastle want to be at. And maybe they are right, but you need to recognize where they came from. This project has definitely gone to a level that they didn't think it would have by now. So him being here without the key signings you would expect for a team that was to challenge, like Newcastle obviously do, because of the money they have, the investments they've made. I think he's done a pretty decent job. To want him out because the team is not at the level that they want to be, I think it will be pulling the plug now will be a very bad decision. But you look at Walter Mada, who started the season on fire. In recent games, he's not been favoured. He's been left on the bench a few times. And obviously, he's not happy. He would want to prove a point that he is the player they expected him to be. They paid a lot of money for him, and he's been scoring the goals. But you'd expect for the amount of money he came in for the goals to be flowing. And you look at Ekitike at Liverpool and think that I would want these numbers for Walter Mada as well, since they came in for around the same money. Ekitike would have been at Newcastle if things had been a little different, probably scoring the same number of goals. Who knows? But things are not looking great for him. So this goal will definitely help keep his mind off that and remind Newcastle and Eddie Howe that he's still the man who can get the goals for them. I think Newcastle definitely deserved the win. That red card to Marco Bizot definitely can help his case with rushing out and making that challenge. But ultimately, Newcastle deserved the win. Another chance for another trophy. If they win again this season, you
last
can't...
time was over 72 years, is it?
Yeah, last time was over 72 years. That was the Carabao Cup. If they win this trophy, you can't look at Eddie Howe and say he doesn't deserve more years, because he's taking them from a team that almost was to a team that can win trophies. And if they keep going on like this, who knows the level it can take them in, because coaches, just like players, improve over time. So giving him a lot of time, giving him enough support, and giving him a certain core of players who can get him those results, I think will be beneficial to the club.
He describes this club as an almost was or almost is football club. You see the same situation with Villa?
Eddie Howe? Or,
No, with Villa.
Unai
Emery, sorry, yeah.
I mean, I think they're just one of those clubs who just, I mean, they have big ambitions. And when you are fighting against some of the already entrenched, how do you call it, teams that are over there, sometimes it becomes quite difficult. They've already been able to, how do you call it, qualify for Europe. They missed out narrowly on the Champions League qualification. I think that might have given them a different impact on this season. If they had been able to make it to the Champions League, how do you call it, they would have had different level of investment. I don't know if how do you call it, how far along the Rashford deal or the Asensio deals were. There are different players that they could have kept around that could have helped propel them. I thought they were very smart in the January window, because when in the summer window, rather than spending a lot, they waited until the last day of the window around that, and then they panicked a bit with some of their signings. Sancho has come out quite well, but Harvey Elliott's situation itself seems quite complicated now, and it meant that they needed a little backup. I was also surprised to see Daniel Malin go, because in his role, I saw him at Roma this weekend. In his role, he looked like he looked from the temperament, he looked like the perfect player who could either sometimes start along the front line or coming off the bench. Because what they need right now is, I think they need bodies. They've lost a lot of midfielders. They've lost Onana. They've lost, I think, how do you call it, Magin is injured. Kamara too is out. So a lot of these, already he's dealing with having to use a squad that is, how do you call it, not patched up, but almost cobbled together to fight against a level that they are not quite there yet. And that's where, if you have certain injuries to key players, it can hurt you. What I think that, now that they're out of the EFL Cup, I think that Unai Emery, who is a Europa League specialist, and maybe start thinking of focusing on that. Obviously, they would like to qualify directly to the Champions League, to the league. And that's something that should be remembered. Even though they're doing really well in the league and people are talking about them being in the title race, most people at Aston Villa are just being realistic and being very thrilled that, oh, look at, like, we are almost guaranteed to qualify for the Champions League. It's not as guaranteed yet, but if you include the fact that fifth takes them into the Champions League, they are in a very good position right now as it stands with 12 games left to go in the season to qualify for next season's Champions League. They still have an opportunity to win a trophy through the Europa League. And even though the FA Cup would have been sweet, because last season they lost out in the semi-finals to Crystal Palace, who went on to win it. So they probably think that, oh, if we had gone to the final, maybe we could have also won the trophy. They would have liked to win it this season, but I think the Europa League for them is probably a better shot, and how do you call it? It might be a more sweet victory, be able to get that over the line. So if they can just focus on the league and then try their best in the Europa League, I think that'll still be a good season for them.
Okay, so let's have your thoughts on the number that will be on your screen to enable you to join the conversation. Let's have a glimpse at Manchester City winning against Oxford by 2-0. It was McGay who had a goal, and I was super happy for him. Let's watch this. This competition, Pep says he loves so much, the FA Cup. You feel against Oxford, I think it should have been about 5-0.
Oh, I think the only thing Pep Guardiola will be upset about was that the scoreline wasn't more emphatic. And not because of their performance. He admitted the
game was boring.
Yeah, not because of their performance, but because of going into the game. City are just miles above Salford. So you think that given the quality of the team, and right now he doesn't have any excuse. There's a lot of quality in that side that anyone you put in will be deemed as quality. So given the quality of his side and the players that Salford had on display, you would think that Man City would have made the dominance count. But unfortunately, it wasn't the results that they wanted, or the scoreline that they wanted, though they got the result that they wanted going into the next round. He would be happy because it's another competition City can win. They are already in the Carabao Cup final. They are very well placed in the Premier League as well. The Champions League, they are doing some good things there. The FA Cup is a competition that, as you said, Pep Guardiola likes a lot because Man City win it quite a bit. They are very good in this competition along with the Carabao Cup. Winning it is not what Pep would want his legacy to be about. But we know Pep and the players at Manchester City are winners anyway. If there's a trophy to be won, they are definitely going to try and make it count. In the last few years, I think complacency sets in a bit when they got to the latter stages. They felt that they had it in the bag, or they felt the team they were facing was inferior to them, so they didn't put as much effort into it. This season, in the last season as well, I think the results that Man City have got from the league and from the other cup competitions have told Pep and his boys that they need to focus when they get into these positions. They want to win something. Last season, they ended up not winning a major trophy, and that's very unlike Manchester City. This season, they want to win as much as they can to silence the doubters who were starting to wonder if Pep had lost his magic, he had lost his steam, and whether these players could live up to the legacy of those who had come before them at Manchester City. So the first task is winning trophies. The Carabao Cup is available almost immediately. The FA Cup now becomes a major target. And the league as well has popped up, even though there was a period where you felt Arsenal had it in the bag. So they have a lot to look out for in terms of trophies, and I feel the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup look as though they are two that City should definitely win, or have the players to win if they take it seriously enough.
You've got 60 seconds to analyze McGay and his performances so far, and particularly in this game, his positioning to have gotten that ball to the back of the net. You feel he's been a fantastic signing so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been a really good signing, and I think that was to be expected. Most teams, when they were looking at the McGahey signing, were looking at the fact that you had to pay a fee for a player who would be available during the summer for free. But I think City looked at it as, this is what, 20 million for a world-class defender who has had a lot of years to give us. So signing him for them was a no-brainer. They have the finances to do it, and he was able to get his first goal. He's been able to, impact their defense, coming in for some of the key players that were missing. It was also interesting to see him being paired with, I think, John Stones in the game. Good to see Stones also cover back. I think when fit, that's probably his best defensive pairing. Maybe Ruben Diaz, when he's there, Ruben Diaz, Vardio sometimes. But when fit, in terms of when they are on the ball, ball playing ability, I think Gehi and Stones probably give him the best option. So yeah, good for him to settle down quickly and get things running. Fantastic.
Let's go for another break here on Scorecard, live on Channel 1 TV. We'll return back in studio. We'll have back-to-back of the Arsenal-Liverpool game. Then we'll get to talk about some games in Spain. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back from the break. This is Scorecard on Channel 1 TV. I am Bernard Abekoche. Let's get into the highlights. It's Arsenal with Mikel Arteta. They seem to know how to win this trophy, isn't it? They beat Wigan Athletic by 4-0, and we have that of Liverpool as well, who beats Brighton by 3-0. We'll get back to back of that. We'll come back and see you to talk about it. I feel that's an audition for the Wigan goalkeeper. You know, he did well, but it's Arsenal. I mean, I want you to do the Arsenal game, he'll do the Liverpool game. Okay. You think this is the statement of they won this cup before, under Mikel Arteta, Arsenal fans really want more, but that's a statement in this competition. They made a statement.
I've heard a lot of talk this week, particularly that Arsenal need to drop a competition if they are to stay in the Premier League fights. No, I don't think so. I think a team of Arsenal's quality, as we've come to expect of Manchester City and maybe to an extent Liverpool, can compete in 4 competitions and win them all, and be good enough to win them all.
Okay.
Yeah. They
Why,
have
why
a
do you
lot.
say so?
They have depth. That's Arsenal have a lot of quality in on the bench and in reserve because they've spent wisely, and they've spent wisely in good positions, enough to have a team that can spill over twice and win big games, win different competitions. So I don't buy that talk that Arsenal need to hold off on a competition, maybe the FA Cup, go out of the FA Cup. They're already in the final of the Carabao Cup. If they want to make a good run in the Premier League and the Champions League, I think they have good enough players to win all of them. And you look at today's the lineup that Arteta put out. He decided to go with both Saka and Madueke. Another complaint I've got is they can't play together in the same team because you have to shift Madueke over to the left-hand side, or you have to shift Saka to the left-hand side to make them as good as they can, or as they are not as good as they can be if one of them is moved over to the left-hand side. I don't think so. In today's game, one of them can play behind the striker, the other can play on the right-hand side. And if you don't have either of them, there's Odegaard, there's Eze, who was magnificent today. There's Trossard, who can come off. There's Martinelli, who is in good form. Gyökeres didn't start. Jesus did. He got his goal. Gyökeres came on, hits the post. That's the kind of quality any team would love to have. And that's the quality you need if you want to compete in various competitions. And they can win the FA Cup. And they should have it in their mind that they are favourites for the FA Cup because of the team they have. So I don't buy that conversation that was going on this week, last week, about Arsenal not being able to win at all.
I mean, but has it been? I don't think it's been done before in England.
Yeah, and
for a team to win both trophies and go on to win the treble.
And Arsenal
United probably came close, but they won the FA Cup, Champions League, and the league.
And the league,
It's a lot of concentration. I'm not saying they can't do it.
A lot of concentration, like how you put it.
I'm not saying they can't do it.
That's.
But you need stuff from the beginning of the season.
Arsenal for a second, concentration. Because sometimes when they are in the game, you realize that they either get too excited or lose the steam at a point, and the point goes against them. We saw that in the United game, for example.
Yeah.
So the concentration.
You can't be perfect as a team. There are moments where you will lose games. And Arsenal have been more consistent than most, which is why they are 4 points clear in the league, which is why they are still in every competition. We don't hear as much talk when other teams lose it. I think obviously it's understandable because Arsenal have a history in previous seasons of bottling the league. But
it's fact.
Yes, that's fact. But I think that criticism becomes a little too much when other teams are also not performing consistently. In those 2 previous seasons, you either have Liverpool or Manchester City being impeccable going into this stage of the season. Neither team, or even Aston Villa, Man United or Chelsea, who are the ones chasing this time, look like they can put up a 3 or 4 game run without losing. Only Arsenal do, even at this stage. So I think we need to give them a little bit of credit.
I agree. Liverpool, Mo Salah is still one of the important footballers for this football club.
I mean, yeah, he'll always be one of the most important footballers at the club, given what he's achieved.
And I know you love him, so I'm asking you this.
I know. I mean, he like Edwin says, what's not to love? I mean, he's a magnificent footballer. It's a shame that the AFCON didn't go for him the way people
I saw your
thought it would.
frustration. I saw your frustration in Ghana.
His crowning moments, but he's still been a wonderful footballer.
Okay.
For Liverpool and for Premier League. I think he's the highest scoring African in Premier League, highest scoring foreigner in Premier League history, and none of that can be taken away from him. At this point, though, I think it's also important for him to realize his relationship with Arne Slot and understand that sometimes just tactically for the way the team wants to play, he can't. Also because he's growing older. Although Salah in particular has this weird quirk where the younger he was. So players like Sterling and maybe Rooney, they started playing from 18, 19, 20. So they were pretty much burned out by the time they got to their late 30s. Salah, his early years, when he was at Chelsea, he wasn't actually playing as much. Yeah, so he's slightly older, but like physically, he still has a lot more to give, in terms of Premier League and Liverpool. And yeah, so it's good to see him scoring. He hasn't been as influential since he's come back, but I think that's about 3 goals since he's been back from the AFCON. If you add that to the 4 goals he scored at the AFCON, 2026 he has been a productive year for him. for Arne Slot in particular, you've heard him speak this week, and what he says is that the Liverpool have a priority of either they have 3 priorities now. It's either the Champions League, the FA Cup, or how do you call it, trying to secure Champions League qualification directly through the league. Through the league, I think that would be quite difficult for them because of the form of Manchester United and Chelsea right now. But for a team that has won the league, it would be very disappointing to not even manage to qualify for the Champions League next season. The more realistic target is probably the FA Cup. Champions League, it's not a lottery, but who you meet in the next stage and the stage after that is sometimes determines how far you can go inside the competition. Maybe sometimes by the virtue of the luck of the draw, the team on the opposite side of the draw can knock out a team that would probably have, if you come up in them in terms of a matchup, they would have probably been able to take you out. So I think sometimes it has a lot to do with playing well, but there's also an element of luck in it. And I think Liverpool kind of need that this season. If you look at the run that they went on earlier this season, losing 9 in 12 games, I think they can do with a little bit of fortune telling for them right now.
Great. Let me pick few messages, and then we'll get to continue. Abeku, I beg your guest the Accra House of Folk goal was a clean and well rehearsed goal, devoid of
I like
any offside ingredient. Congratulations to the Phobians for this sweet victory. Anyways, I am your in-law. My wife, Patience, says you were mates back at Suesco. Hi, Patience. Yeah, that's Sami from Tamale. Good evening. A good work done by Accra House of Folk. We look to see more of such performances in our upcoming game. That's from Mahmoud Mohammed. Good evening, guys. Alex, watching you live from Ashaman. I'm a real Barcelona fan, but I think Accra House of Folk's player with the number 5, that's Kevin Isibe. Is it Kevin Isibe? I need to cross-check that again. It's better than all my Barcelona defenders in Spain. I'll tell you the name of the player, I'll tell you. From Abraham Jadu of Broadcasting Accra. Congratulations to my darling club, Accra House of Folk, for beating Yanum Kotoko in Kumasiphobia Masters he at. So I'll do 4, and then we'll get back into discussion. Let's move to Spain, where we get a glimpse of Real Madrid beating Real Sociedad by 4 goals to 1. We get a Rayo Vallecano, Atletico Madrid, back to back. We'll get in studios and talk more. Let's watch this. So that's it in Spain, but I mean the Madrid, the second penalty was not a penalty, was it?
I disagree.
Why?
I disagree.
I didn't see any contact.
I think it was a penalty. The player was desperate to get to the ball after he'd been done by Vinicius Junior and decided to dive.
I don't agree, but that's fine.
When you are silly and you decide to dive in the penalty box, you have to make sure 100% your foot gets to the ball. He didn't touch the ball. That was it. He made the referee make that decision. Okay. The slightest contact, it's a penalty. It doesn't matter how soft you think it is, it's a penalty. And Madrid definitely capitalized. But I want to focus on 2 players. First of all, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Probably the best game for Madrid that I've seen from him. His passing, delivery, his defending was brilliant. And he's been criticized for his defending a lot of times, but he was top-notch. And he'll be a key player for them if they are to be successful in the league or in the Champions League this season. Second player, and Manuel just talked about it while we were off air, Valverde. He's been wasted in that right-back position. In midfield, he is a beast. He's probably one of the best midfielders in the world when he's played in his actual position. And I'm not just talking about the goals he scores. He scores wonderful goals. But he allows them a level of control that they've not had in years when he plays in midfield. So that's some food for thought for Arbeloa. But it's made the Spanish title race even more interesting that Madrid are now starting to find a little form and keep some pressure on Barcelona.
Food for thought, you mentioned for Barcelona is they play on Monday against Girona. And we'll see how that event pans out. It's 60-58 now. Madrid on top, Barcelona second. Maybe that might just bring that trick in there. Rayo Vallecano, Atletico Madrid, I saw you whisper stuff when the clip was playing.
Yeah, I think they were just, after the exertion of everything in midweek. Obviously, I'm not surprised, but I think their dominance that they had over Barcelona midweek in the Copa del Rey, I think there was a lot of exertion there, and maybe the hangover effect meant that coming into this game, maybe they were more complacent than they needed to be, and that manifested itself on the field. I think they'd be very disappointed with the goals that they conceded, the type of goals that they were conceding. They seemed very silly goals, and the last one was just a cross into a box and a free header. And for a Diego Simeone team, I think he'd be very critical of how they were not able to defend those properly. But for the league, I think the league is left to just Barca and Real Madrid now. Obviously, there are seasons where Atletico come in like a dark horse, but I think this season is pretty much gone. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Real Madrid seem getting a lot of penalties. I mean, they had 3 consecutive games where Mbappe scored a penalty. I bet he was very upset to miss this game, seeing all the penalties that Vinny was winning. And obviously, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a refereeing conspiracy. I think it's more of a tactic from them. They have very skillful, especially Vinicius and maybe Mbappe. If you beat a player in the box, like you saw with the second penalty, a player is sometimes they react in a way where they're more likely to give a penalty than to win back the ball. And I think it's a tactic that they've been using. But going into the league season, I think that they just need to, get themselves playing back really well. They've won a lot of games in a row now in La Liga. And coming off the back of all the talk about Xavi Alonso and all the pressure that he was under, I think it's just positive to see them, playing better football, getting wins on the board, and then the rest of the season is up to them. This is Real Madrid. They still can go ahead and win a trophy this season.
Sorry, a side note, it was good to see Abdul Mumin on the team sheet. He didn't play, but it's good to see him come back. He's been out for a long time, so hopefully he makes it, get some minutes before the World Cup.
Great. I'm not commenting on that. let's head to maybe Arsenal's is corners, right? And Madrid's is penalties. They just know how to go about it. Let's move to Italy. I love that derby which transpired between Internazionale and Juventus. But first, we also have the back-to-back instead of that. Milan up against Pisa, where Milan won by 2-1. Then that derby where Inter Milan won by 3-2. Let's watch this. Look, that's how to end the show. Guys, your faith on that them just closer. I mean, that's beautiful.
Brilliant game, but ruined by the decision to send off Kalulu. The first yellow card shouldn't have been a yellow card. This yellow card shouldn't have been a yellow card. So it almost messed up what was a good game. Probably did for some people, but I think they just showcased that the Italian Serie A can be a very combative league too.
What do you think? You want to talk about Milan? This is a Chelsea B.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strange makeup of the team. But I think when you look at the squad, I think this is the revival of Massimiliano Allegri. He was the one who succeeded Conte at Chelsea and was able to win 5 league titles in a row before. I mean, 4 league titles in a row before Sarri came along to win it. He came back the second time at Juve and he wasn't able to get them back to the level that they were. So to see him at Milan doing so well is incredible. And same thing with Inter, with their manager leaving earlier in the season, Simone Inzaghi, and for their new coach coming, Christian Chiesa, to come in and still get them competing on all fronts. I think it's been incredible, the whole Serie A season so far, and that's one of the things I like especially about Italy, because it feels like every other season they have so many teams that can be competitive on so many different fronts.
Great. Thank you very much, Manuel Angelo Kwachi. Thank you very much, Kofi. So I didn't call Kofi. I am Bernard Abekoachi. Thanks to the guys behind the scenes who made this an awesome production. And we'll see you same time next week. This is Scorecard on Channel 1 TV.